The wolves are back. Are they good? Evil? Hungry? They kill cattle, ponies, horses. More and more.
We're all scared for our animals.
We're the ones suffering here.
It can't go on like this.
Their population doubles every 3 years, and they're under strict protection.
Why don't you just shoot them?
In Latvia, they are shot.
We have been hunting wolves for many years.
How can you hate an animal that much?
2, 3, 4. Animals are neither good nor evil.
The wolf tears apart society, city, country, right, left.
The problem is wolves don't respect humans.
Large carnivores in villages and towns, dangerously near.
Something will happen at some point. We don't know when.
That's a wolf. That's not cool.
The region of Coexistence, the wet triangle between the North Sea and the Elbe and Weser rivers. Spacious pastures with sheep, cattle, horses, and wolves. Currently, about 20 of them inhabit the area. In 2023, they killed 45 farm animals and injured 29. Statistical figures for official reports. Familiar creatures for people like Klaus Steffens, a local horse breeder.
There they are already.
Stealthily, the wolves enter the pasture at night, unnoticed.
Oh, come on. Go back, back, back. Fine. Come here.
Oh.
Come here.
Fine.
Come here.
Oh. Kom maar hier, kom. Oh. Kom maar hier.
That's good. That's fine.
So ist er brav. So ist fein. Das ist einfach mein Leben noch.
This is my life now. I'm a pensioner, but I still have my horses.
Das ist praktisch wie eine
They feel like family to me.
kann man so sagen.
We recently had an unexpected incident, and now I need to consider what to do next.
Gerechnet hatte und man muss jetzt überlegen, wie soll es weitergehen. Komm mal hier.
Come here. It's all good. That's fine.
Oh, ist fein, ne?
It's September. 19 young stallions here at this small farm. As always, they spend the night outdoors until it gets too cold.
Hier auf der Weide ist das passiert.
It happened here in the
Und
pasture.
ich habe am nächsten Morgen
The next morning, I found a torn and mangled stallion.
Hengst gefunden.
It was a nasty
Das
sight.
war natürlich grausam. Und die anderen
As for the other horses, they galloped around the fence, leaving clear tracks.
Und,
When you first see something like
konnten die
that,
Spuren sehen.
it's shocking,
Man ist erstmal geschockt,
and the
wenn
scene
man
looks
sowas
terrible.
sieht. Und dann,
It's hard to
so
process at
fürchterlich,
first.
wie das aussieht.
But you know you have to take
Kann man
action
erst mal
somehow.
denken, aber man muss ja irgendwie was machen.
The yearling colt, weighing 400 kilos, lies dead in the grass, his abdomen torn open, his innards strewn about. The surviving horses shift nervously up and down the pasture.
What did you think?
What did I think? It was awful. When you see all these
Wenn man
pictures,
diese Bilder alle sieht, hier
here's
ist
the
auch
deadly
der Kiel.
bite, definitely tooth marks.
Eindeutig mit 4 Zähne.
I knew right away that it was
Es
a
war mir gleich
wolf.
klar, dass das ein Wolf ist.
The garbage had been dragged through the area. Everything had been eaten, the abdomen torn open. I then informed the wolf consultant from the Chamber of Agriculture. He was here within 2 hours. He looked at everything and took DNA samples. By now, they've confirmed that it was definitely a wolf.
A nightmare.
I wouldn't have expected them to approach a herd like that, where 18 or 19 stallions are running around with cattle and small calves. One would think they would target a small calf first. They chose this herd, and now the wolves have returned once again, which brings us to exactly where we are now.
The wolves return to the village of 300 inhabitants and kill a cow in front of a neighboring farm. The following week, they returned to Klaus Steffen's horse pasture. This time, Klaus was at home.
I came here with a headlamp and a brand new pitchfork for my own defense. I wasn't scared anymore. I didn't care. I'm attached to my horses. I immediately realized in the back of my mind what was happening again, what was going on, and how I got here. Of the 9 that were left, 6 had gone back there. The 2 wolves were here, where we are now. I was standing at the rear, and the stallions were the 3.
Did you see the wolves?
Yes, 2 of them.
How far away from you were they?
20 meters. They were always going up and down the rows here. The 3 of them were drenched in sweat and stood here in the corner at the rear. I was just shouting and making noise.
Did you intervene with the pitchfork?
Yeah, I had the pitchfork in front of me. Then they ran off after I shouted and made noise, and I kept flashing my headlamp at them.
Keeping horses in wolf territory is probably quite difficult now.
Wolf territory, that's an interesting term. As long as I've lived here, there have been no wolves. We're in the heart of nature, surrounded by cattle, horses, and sheep. We don't know anything different. We have to adapt to living with the wolves. We can do that, but it shouldn't be at the current population levels.
Do politicians care enough?
No, nothing's being done. We won't be able to get rid of the wolves, nor do we want to, but their numbers need to be managed. They should be kept at a sustainable level, but there won't be any major changes in Germany for the foreseeable future. Politicians need to recognize that something needs to change.
You say you want to continue with this life, but how?
We need to think of solutions. We could use cameras to monitor the situation. We could react quickly when wolves approach. That's my thought, but I don't have any other ideas at the moment.
So giving up is not an option.
Giving up is not an option. Life goes on.
Here in Koksland, the mood regarding wolves shifts from despair to anger, in contrast to the region's typical emotional reservedness. Around 2,000 people gather for a panel discussion on these predators, which first appeared as solitary animals in the area nearly 20 years ago. Today, hundreds of wolves inhabit the region. Their population increases by 1/3 each year. Most families in the area either own animals themselves or have neighbors who keep sheep, goats, and ponies. The lifestyle here is outdoor-oriented, animal-friendly, and ecologically sustainable. Koksland could be a green paradise. Today's most notable guest is Christian Meyer, the Green Environment Minister of Lower Saxony. Stefan Aust, who co-authored this film and is a horse breeder himself, hosts the discussion event. It is the largest of its kind in Germany to date.
Mr. Meyer, how many wolves are there in Lower Saxony?
We have at least 55 registered packs at the moment, which means there are approximately 400 to 600 wolves in Lower Saxony. Trend rising.
How many grazing animals, such as sheep, cattle, and horses, have been injured or killed by wolves in Lower Saxony over the last 10 years? What's the estimated scale?
We've recorded just over 10,000 animals killed. We occasionally experience severe cases where 30 to 40 sheep can die in a single incident. That happens less frequently. We have to implement population management for wolves. Environmental organizations are calling for my resignation because I am contemplating measures related to wolf management despite being a member of the Green Party. I stand firm in my decision. I urge the federal government and the EU to grant us the authority to take necessary actions. I cannot act against the law. I cannot advocate for illegal actions. I have sworn to uphold the Constitution, and if the existing laws and EU regulations are problematic, then we need to change those laws to ensure effective management.
That's indeed true. The first step is addressing the laws. However, to change the laws, one must understand the increase in the wolf population. We have an image here, which the wolf advisor gave to me.
Die habe ich vom Wolfsberater bekommen.
This picture from the Lower Saxony Hunting Association illustrates the development of the wolf population over the past 10 to 12 years. Currently, wolves are present throughout Lower Saxony. At some point, we will need to consider hunting them. We must not make this decision on ideological grounds. A fundamental issue is that the political parties have been favorable towards wolves. Here we are, welcoming the wolf. No one, including my colleagues from conservationist organizations, anticipated the population would develop to such an extent.
Ultimately, it's not just about what's discussed here on stage or in politics. It's about what the public is experiencing. Can you briefly share your personal experience?
I'm from the Lüneburg Heath. We have a sheep farm, and we've had big problems with wolves for about 10 years now. The situation is so dire that we are using livestock guarding dogs to protect our flocks. We saw another attack this spring. Only one sheep died this time, but previously we've lost as many as 30 in a single attack. There are wolves everywhere around the stables. Almost every night. We're surrounded by them. We have 5 flocks, and with the wolves around, even the stables don't seem safe. It feels like we no longer have any chance.
Initially, the wolves were alone, but now they come in packs. What can we do about it? Nothing. The wolves have made our farm their home. It's beautiful to hear them howl. Sometimes it feels like we're in Alaska or Canada. My wife is a veterinarian. She doesn't even leave the house anymore. We are dealing with several problems right here, and we are living in the midst of a catastrophe.
Margitta Bertram is also in the audience. She's mayor of nearby Kranenburg and keeps horses as a hobby.
So what happens next? What will happen next? The wolf is strolling through the village in broad daylight, not shy at all. And we're asking ourselves, how much are we expected to tolerate? This is simply unbearable. A wild animal that has completely lost its natural fear. Wolves belong in large territories, like forests, not in a village. We need to put a stop to this situation.
But that is easier said than done. The 16 environment ministers from the federal states are responsible for the management of those wolves who prefer preying on fenced-in ponies or sheep rather than chasing after agile wild deer. At the time this film was completed, 11 of these ministers were members of the Green Party. They appear to have little interest in alienating their core voters. They rather point to the strict European Union protection regulations, claiming that they are sadly, powerless to address the problem. Kai Seefried, the district administrator of Stade, describes the problem.
How is this situation perceived by the population, those who experience it daily? I want to emphasize that we are losing the public's trust in our ability to take effective action. But I've personally witnessed how we, as authorities, often find ourselves in awkward positions due to our lack of resources to address this situation. Thank you very much.
Helmut Damann-Tamke is head of the German Hunting Association and a member of the Green Party.
I
can tell you how it must be dealt with. The protection status has to be lowered. We have outlined this. Berne Convention, FFH law, every pack that has killed livestock must be eliminated.
The urgency of the problem in North Germany is heightened by the fact that the presence of wolves puts 1.2 million people at risk. The dikes along the North Sea and the major rivers are actively protected by 10,000 sheep. They help keep the vegetation short and prevent erosion, but their number is decreasing each year. Shepherds are starting to give up. It's almost impossible to protect the sheep. Fences don't work. Livestock guarding dogs cannot be used because there are too many tourists. In Kranenburg, Margita Bertram keeps 2 horses and 2 ponies right in front of her house. Just last year, the local dike shepherd's animals were attacked by wolves. 18 sheep were killed on the spot. 37 others had to be euthanized. When wolf tracks appeared near their houses, Margita Bertram and her neighbor Tanja Turta organized joint night watches on their pasture until surveillance cameras could be installed. Since then, Ms. Bertram, the SPD mayor of Kranenburg, has been trying to draw attention to the precarious situation in the region through her connections in the Social Democrat-led state government.
I'll just get a rope.
The intervention in Hanover achieved nothing.
What was it like when the wolves came?
It was frightening and disturbing. Nothing has been the same.
I don't think I'll ever forget the moment I wanted to let the horses out onto pasture in the morning. I felt that something had happened that night. The entire paddock had been rummaged through, and then I saw the large tracks. I shouted, "Tanya, you have to come over quickly." We took a close look, measured the tracks, and realized they weren't dog tracks.
Yes, and then we thought, what do we do next? We parked the car and sat in it at night, watching and waiting, flying blind.
We broke off our night watch at around 5 a.m.
We thought that nothing was going to happen. The next morning, we found a dead cow back there. The worst part was going to my daughter, who had just turned 11 at the time, and saying, "We have to keep watch at night because the wolves are here, and we don't know what will happen." She stood in front of me and cried.
Your daughter?
It still affects me today.
We feel so helpless. There's really nothing we can do.
Let's be honest. We live in a densely populated cultural landscape. You can't just let a large, highly intelligent carnivore run wild. That doesn't work.
We are the ones who have to endure this and pay the price. The Green Party romanticizes the issue. But ideology should really be put aside. Everyone needs to think clearly and say, we've made a mistake. We can't go on like this. We have to figure out the best way to move forward. Maybe it's still possible to turn things around if it's not already too late. The longer we wait, the harder it will be.
At least her horses and those of her neighbor are safe, thanks to the surveillance measures. But the mayor's disappointment runs deep.
Do you feel abandoned by politicians?
Ja,
Absolutely.
absolut.
I feel like a guinea pig.
Wir oder ich
People in rural areas have to deal with the whole thing by themselves
als Versuchskaninchen
and receive no help.
hier auf dem Land müssen das ertragen.
It's not that we don't try to communicate with politicians,
Es ist ja nicht so,
but
dass man
nothing changes.
versucht, ins Gespräch zu kommen.
No one takes action, regardless of who it is.
Es rührt sich keiner.
Nothing will happen until something really bad happens.
Richtig was passiert.
Are people here scared of that?
Auf alle
Yes.
Fälle. Wenn mich eine
When the head of our local kindergarten approaches me and asks, "Can I risk it? Can I still take the children out into nature?"
in die Natur zu gehen, also
So,
sprich,
can they go for long walks in the fields where they enjoy running and playing? Of course, there are no cars in those areas.
da brauchen Sie nicht aufpassen, da
Well,
fahren keine
I
Autos.
find it difficult to give any recommendations.
Empfehlung aussprechen.
Personally, I wouldn't do it, especially at this time of year when wolves are known to roam nearby.
Wölfe laufen ja auch.
Wolves can be found in other areas too, so there really isn't any place they haven't been. Whether it's cyclists or horseback riders, everyone seems to be scared.
Alle verängstigt.
A few days after this interview, Margita Bertram announced her resignation from the SPD. She was a committed social democrat for 19 years. Now she's one more victim of wolves. The myth of the wolf has always evoked equal parts fear and fascination. Cursed by rural populations and idolized by city dwellers, this duality persists even today. The MV Wildlife Park in Güstrow showcases its 5 wolves behind 3-meter-high electric fences. This highlights the necessary measures for effective herd protection. Angelika Lederer has looked after wolves here for 45 years.
Let's have a look. We've already let the wolves know that we're coming.
Since her retirement, the 70-year-old has worked part-time at the wildlife park. Today, she guides visitors into the darkness for a special thrill.
Come, come. Fine. Fine.
The city dwellers are delighted.
Careful. Don't move.
What's it like for you to see the wolves?
It's great. It's impressive to see them so close in nature. It's interesting to observe their hierarchy as well.
So what do you think? Is it fascinating or frightening?
Not frightening at all. Because we're protected and separated from the animals, we know that the wolves wouldn't hurt us.
That's true. You wouldn't see this in the wild, of course, but here it's really impressive.
This is the first time in my 58 years that I've seen a wolf alive. I find it fascinating. It's truly great.
So this is the leader of the pack. Ah, he's a beautiful wolf. He's the son of the deceased alpha male who led the pack here for 10 years before he passed away.
The Federal Agency for Nature Conservation compiles statistics about wild wolves in the federal states. They show that the wolves are predominantly in the north and east. The south is still considered to be a so-called wolf expectation region. At the reporting date of May 1st, 2024, a total of 209 wolf packs were confirmed in Germany, with each pack consisting of approximately 8 to 10 wolves. In addition, there are 46 pairs of wolves and 19 sedentary lone wolves. The actual number of unreported cases is likely much higher. Tarant, located in Saxony, houses the Department of Wildlife Ecology and Hunting Management at the Technical University of Dresden. Professor Sven Herzog, one of Germany's leading wolf experts, is its director.
How many wolves are currently in Germany?
The estimate ranges from just under 2,000 to over 4,000. We're seeing exponential growth in the wolf population, and whether the number is 500 more or less isn't significant.
Are there too few or too many?
It depends on your perspective. It is what it is. The wolves are actively colonizing their habitat. While there is room for more wolves in certain areas, we should note that we already have one of the highest local densities of wolves in the world.
Eine sehr hohe Dichte feststellen, die durchaus zumindest ja wie gesagt lokal eine der weltweit höchsten Wolfsdichten in der Fläche ist.
These world record wolf densities are found in certain areas of Saxony and Brandenburg. According to Marie Neuwald of the German Nature and Biodiversity Conservation Union NABU, this world record is no cause for concern. Neuwald has a somewhat contradictory role at NABU as a kind of wolf in sheep's clothing, serving as an advisor on both wolves and grazing animals. She calls it a conflict of objectives.
When it comes to having too many or too few wolves, it really raises questions about nature, humans, and what we need from wolves. We think wolves are native animals, and there's plenty of land in Germany where wolves aren't currently living. They should have the chance to live in places that fit their needs. We're not saying there should be a specific minimum number of them. We're just suggesting a maximum limit. I actually believe that their natural instincts and territorial behavior will help keep their population in check.
Most of the 430,000 hunters between the North Sea and the Alps see it differently. Like Helmut Daman-Tamke, the president of the German Hunting Association, has his hunting ground and his farm located in one of the wolf hotspots near Stade. He was a CDU member of the state parliament in Hanover and, in this role, attempted to highlight the dangers of uncontrolled proliferation, so far without much success. Wolves remain untouchable.
How many more wolves will there be?
Das wäre eine Frage, die Politik mal beantworten.
This is a question politicians need to address. Conservationists believe that the wolf population in Germany will regulate itself naturally. Evolution has shown over thousands of years that such mechanisms can work. But this holds true mainly in areas of nature unaffected by human activity. This is not a natural landscape. For those of us living in urban areas, direct contact with wolves is minimal. For people living in rural areas, where the safety of their livelihoods, properties, and animals may be threatened by wolves, the situation creates a shift in what is tolerated and accepted towards these animals. We have several regions where this acceptance has eroded. Once acceptance is lost, it becomes extremely difficult to regain it.
The return of wolves to Germany began in the Oberlausitz military training area near the Neisse River. This 175 square kilometer region has been a restricted military zone since 1945, when the Red Army established a tank firing range there. In 1998, a pair of wolves was spotted here. 2 years later, they raised pups. Almost 100 years after the wolves had been wiped out, a new pack was back. A turning point. Accompanied by grazers and cheered on by environmentalists, a symbol of the recovery of Mother Nature emerges. In 2002, Gese Kluth and Ilke Reinhardt established a wildlife biology office, now known as the Lupus Institute, only a few kilometers from this pack number 1.
Have there been any sightings from Gawitz or Grauschwitz regarding the geese?
We received a report yesterday around lunchtime. There was a wolf by the garden fence along the field path. The area is open to the west, which is probably where the animal came from. There are geese there. The wolf approached, but thankfully a person chased it away. The people in the area are still concerned. This was the first time they saw a wolf at the fence.
Das war jetzt die erste Sichtung von den Personen. Genau, die hatten noch nie einen am Zaun.
It might be a good idea to set up a photo trap.
I agree.
Nix an Siedlung.
The Lupus Institute is responsible for monitoring the wolf population in Saxony and southeastern Brandenburg, where the density is high.
Animals are neither inherently good nor bad. Wolves in particular are often misunderstood. In fairy tales, they are depicted as villains. These stories needed a character to embody evil, and the wolf was chosen to serve that role against the innocent lamb. Fairy tales often caricatured humans, with the wolf symbolizing the bad character. This portrayal has less to do with the nature of the animal itself, and more to do with the narrative needs of those stories.
I find it fascinating that wolves are similar to us humans. They lead a somewhat similar life and are very family-oriented. While they engage in behaviors that we initially find frightening, such as killing other animals for food, well, we do the same ourselves. The misunderstanding between wolves and humans is unfortunate. It's sad that these misconceptions exist. But it's also incredibly exciting to explore.
What are these misconceptions?
Many humans harbor fear and anger toward wolves. They often express hatred for them, although the wolves are simply living their lives as they naturally would.
Intern Lea Morgana Graving and Tim Servai, who is completing his voluntary ecological year at Lupus, are evaluating the photo and video traps from the region's forests. They try to identify individual wolves so they can enter the information into the monitoring file.
I've got the location. I got the coordinates from the photo trap, and they're now marked on the map. Here you can see the female wolf. It's also important to note the distinctive features, the typical wolf's light muzzle, the violet spot on the tail, and the clearly visible black spot on the violet gland at the back, as well as the black tip of the tail. These characteristics help identify it as the territorial female of the pack. It has a leg injury.
Wolves are rapidly multiplying across Germany. They have ample food and no natural enemies, except for illegal hunters and their rifles. There are no reliable statistics on the illegal shooting of animals, which are typically hidden, their bodies buried. However, the leading cause of wolf deaths in Germany by far is traffic. Since the return of the first wolf pack, nearly 900 mostly young and inexperienced wolves have died while crossing roads.
Are the more than 200 wolf packs in Germany enough, or not enough? How many wolves should there be?
That's an interesting question. For a sheep farmer living in a wolf-inhabited area, the total number of wolves in Germany is irrelevant. He has to manage the wolves that are right at his doorstep. The shepherd in one area isn't concerned about how many wolves exist in another.
What's particularly interesting is how humans judge animals. We often claim that there are too many of them, suggesting that a few thousand might be excessive. But there are simply as many animals as there are right now. So why do we think there are too many? Who decides that? The animals just exist. They live their lives and are a part of nature.
I believe that animal and plant species that we have pushed out should be allowed to return to their former habitats. The key issue is not the number of species, but whether they can thrive and where potential conflicts may arise.
To monitor the movement of wolves, each winter, Lupus employees capture individual specimens using live traps. They sedate them and equip them with GPS transmitters that send location data to Spreewitz for analysis.
Right now, we have 4 wolves wearing transmitters. At the beginning of the year, we had 5. But unfortunately, one was run over. The transmitters consist of a satellite unit at the top and a battery at the bottom. These devices allow us to track the wolves' locations. After collecting several location data points, the information is sent to a ground station via satellite. We receive the data on our computer. The collar is designed to drop off automatically after 2 years. When this happens, the pins release and the collar opens. The wolf can then shed it. We also use trap transmitters that alert us as soon as an animal triggers the trap. At that point, the wolf is tranquilized with a syringe. Under anesthesia, we attach the transmitter collar, adjust it to fit the animal, and take measurements. We weigh the wolf and collect blood samples for genetic testing. After about 4 or 5 hours, once the wolf has fully recovered, we release it back into the wild.
Young wolves can travel hundreds and sometimes over 1,000 kilometers in search of a territory of their own.
Also hier können wir jetzt sehen, diese 4 Wölfe, was die in der letzten Woche gemacht haben.
We can see here the activities of 4 wolves over the past week, and it's fascinating. We've tagged a father in blue, mother red, and daughter yellow on the right-hand side of the military training area. This allows us to glimpse their family dynamics.
Dass jetzt der Rüde nicht ständig mit der Fehe zusammenläuft, sondern die auch ganz eigene Sachen machen. Die Tochter läuft ganz gerne mit ihrem Vater mit, also hier das.
Interestingly, the father is often alone.
Und so kann man sehr
The mother
schön
pursues her own activities.
Auch noch sieht.
The daughter prefers to accompany her father. This shows their use of space. They frequently revisit the same areas where you can see these clusters. The young ones are cared for here.
Und man sieht eben, dass die sich räumlich aus dem Wege gehen, nicht komplett, die überlappen sich hier ein bisschen, aber insgesamt haben beide Wolfsfamilien.
We have a young wolf near the purple one that has started its own family this year. While the 2 wolf families overlap somewhat, their court territories remain distinctly separate. They often test the boundaries of their neighbors' territories. The previous saga pack has disappeared, and a new young couple has since moved in to establish their own family. Vacant areas like this are quickly reoccupied by wolves seeking new homes.
1-2 Monate gedauert, dann waren hier neue Wölfe drin, eben dieses junge Paar, was jetzt hier eben eine eigene Familie gegründet hat. Also so vakante Flächen werden dann sofort wieder von Wölfen, die auf der Suche sind, neu besetzt.
What we know is that the number of wolves is increasing. What we don't know is why they seldom head south after leaving their parent pack. The first animals began to migrate northward along the Elbe River, or crossed it early into Lower Saxony, which resulted in a denser animal population and a significant increase in attacks on grazing animals there, and to hate and desperation among animal owners.
The wolf population developed positively over the first 15 years, but now it feels increasingly challenging to continue this work. In all the federal states, there is a growing sense that it's becoming harder to engage with livestock owners and to educate the public. It's getting more difficult because more people seem to believe that there are enough wolves. We've heard all about it. And now it's time to get rid of them. I sense a shift in the mood.
It's a problem that the debate has become so emotional. People often don't even discuss anymore what would be suitable measures.
The shepherds I spoke to suggested shooting all the wolves because they have no place in our cultural landscape. That's what I was told.
Of course, zero wolves cause zero damage. If someone is so extreme as to advocate for the eradication of wolves, they may believe this would solve the problems livestock farmers face with them. But is this really how we want society to function? Do we want to return to the mindset that anything not beneficial to us is harmful? I hope society does not regress to a Middle Ages mentality where animal species we dislike are simply eliminated.
In the Middle Ages, wolves were hunted for attacking livestock. Losing a single cow could mean death for families in servitude. In Germany, the wolf is considered officially extinct since this hunt in 1904, though individual wolves were also killed later. Probably the very last one was the so-called Strangler of Ilo in 1961. Since then, wolf protection measures have been significantly increased with gruesome results. The number of grazing animals killed has risen dramatically. In 2004, when the first German wolf pack had just doubled in size, there were only 2 wolf attacks reported in the whole country, with a total of 3 farm animals being injured or killed. By 2023, there were 1,268 attacks, with 5,727 farm animals either injured or killed, a massive increase in just 20 years. This is what statistics look like in the real world. With every attack last year, 4.5 grazing animals were killed. When they don't have to hunt, wolves develop a kind of bloodlust. Hermann Cook has taken hundreds of photographs like these. One reason why after 9 years, he decided to leave his job as a wolf advisor. The other reason is that the fairy tale of the good wolf, which he once wanted to believe in, turned out to be a lie.
At first, I was fascinated by the return of the first wolves. But over the years, as the number of livestock attacks has increased, the situation has become troubling. I've recently seen some horrific images that have changed my perspective. I can no longer dismiss the seriousness of the issue. I gave talks to help tone down people's fears about wolves. I strongly supported the idea of their return. I'm finding it increasingly difficult to defend that position.
Hermann Cook is considered a true original in Koksland. He worked as a carpenter and built luxury yachts for Saudi sheiks. He also founded his own nature conservation association and is a passionate hunter. To him, these interests are not contradictory. Now he shoots wolves, legally, with photo traps.
Now it's ready. We can no longer tolerate the fact that there are already over 500 wolves in Lower Saxony alone. Sweden has only 400 wolves. Lower Saxony's wolf population is increasing by 30% each year. This trend is unsustainable. Our district is one of the hardest hit in Germany. We need to find solutions for the shepherds and farmers so they can safely return their cattle to pasture.
Für die Landwirte, die wieder ihr Vieh auf die Weiden bringen können.
Whether Klaus Steffen's horse farm, where the young stallion was killed in September, will recover from this wolf attack is uncertain.
Let's get started.
Steffens, along with Annette Slonka, who has rented one of his horses, retrieves the remaining animals from the pasture. They do this earlier now than they did before the wolf attack, well before nightfall. There is not much else they can do to shield the young stallions from danger.
What do you think about the situation with the wolves?
I find it very concerning. We are all afraid, and this situation cannot continue. We need a quick solution that satisfies everyone. We do not want to eradicate the wolves entirely, but we want to ensure that both the wolves and our grazing animals have their place.
Is this your horse?
Yes, it is mine.
Do you worry about it?
Yes, I do. I've had horses here for a long time, and the wolves have been around for years. We're all scared for our animals. I also have more horses at home, so every morning I go out to the pasture with my heart racing, counting them to see if any are missing, or if something has happened. Sometimes I go out there feeling quite anxious.
Everything's fine, all good.
Alles gut. Fein.
So, what happens now?
We're not sure. We have no idea. Winter is coming. The horses can go outside during the day, but if the wolf comes onto the farm now, it'll be very difficult to deal with. We hope he won't come during the day. As for what will happen in the spring, we'll have to wait and see. The wolf population needs to be reduced. The situation cannot continue. We need to be able to rely on our politicians.
Why is it so difficult?
Because politics is stagnant. Many people also feel disconnected from animals and our work. They think a wolf is wonderful. It's true that it's a magnificent creature, and it can be nice to look at in photos. But when you see images of half-eaten horses, sheep and cattle, the reality is very different. This situation cannot continue. Absolutely not. Sleep well, my friend.
So, we've got them back in the stable.
In the world of organized nature conservation, different stories are shared, like at Nabu.
Why am I with Nabu? That's why.
They tell enchanting fairy tales of a nature that could be paradise if only left alone.
That's why.
Tales that morph the wolf from a menace to a myth.
The animals often suffer the most from our well-intentioned measures. Ideally, we should treat the wolf as we would any normal wild animal. From an objective perspective, uninfluenced by financial or interpretative considerations, one might conclude that we need to intervene more. We should take a more active role in management to ensure we maintain public acceptance of these animals. Ultimately, when it comes to wildlife, acceptance is crucial.
How does one do that exactly?
There are various approaches we can take. With other predator species, we can use rubber bullets. This method can be effective when a bear attacks livestock. The rubber bullets scare the bear away by inflicting a painful stimulus that the bear learns from. There's also the option of lethal removal, killing an animal, which is always a contentious issue in our society. Many people oppose it. However, we must acknowledge that death is a natural part of the ecosystem.
The day will come when we hunters will be called upon. Wolves do not have a natural fear of humans. They learn from their experiences. It is a highly intelligent species that quickly realizes any danger. They smell lead, they know when they are being stalked, and when members of their pack are disappearing. They will change their behavior. Eventually, wolves will no longer be seen in broad daylight near residential areas. They will return to their true nature as shy, wild animals that avoid being close to humans.
Latvia. Winter is approaching. With it comes death. In snow, conditions are ideal for hunting wolves. Hunters track their paths, surround the pack, and pull the trigger. Legally. In EU member state Latvia, the killing of wolves is permitted, while in Germany, EU regulations prohibit it, with violations potentially leading to prison sentences of up to 5 years. Latvian Harald Baviks loves to hunt wolves.
We have a series of wolves. It's a regular show tracks.
Cameras observe them.
Here we have one wolf pack, approximately 5 to 6 wolves. Sometimes we come together, 6, it's a regular 2, 3, is go to separate.
And you are hunting them as well?
Yes, will come snow. We start to hunt it. This moment impossible. With the weather very difficult for hunt.
For Harald Baviks, hunting is also a profession. He organizes safaris for wealthy clients who want to hunt large animals, including wolves, in Russia, Kazakhstan, and of course in Latvia.
In Latvia, we have big discussions. Some people like wolves, and he say wolf only protected. Farmers no, kill every wolf. A hunter middle.
Bavik believes it'll only be a few more days until there's enough snow for him to follow the wolves' tracks. According to official figures, there are approximately 1,400 of these animals living in Latvia. During this hunting season, 300 wolves are allowed to be killed. Experienced hunters use wolf howls to attract them. The actual hunt takes place in the morning. In Latvia, the use of night vision scopes is not allowed. But with thermal imaging binoculars, which are permitted, packs can be located and tracked until daybreak. The hunt was successful. In the forests of Latvia, these images are part of everyday life, just as they are in at least 6 other EU countries. Wolves in Latvia are like any other predator. They live, hunt, and are hunted if their population grows too large, or if they kill too many farm animals.
You shot them all yourselves?
Yes.
How many in total?
Altogether, for my life, I shot 6 wolves.
And is it difficult?
It's very difficult.
Why?
Wolf is very clever animal. It's very hard hunt. This moment we have limit 300 wolves, no more. We have some problems.
What problems?
For agriculture, for sheep, farmer.
So you need to kill more. You need to kill more wolves.
Yes, yes. We need to kill more.
Linda Dombrovska serves as Harald Barvik's deputy at the Latvian Hunters Association and is editor-in-chief of the country's only hunting magazine.
Have you hunted wolves yourself?
Yes, I have.
How many?
I have hunted too. We have always hunted wolves here, always. Contrary to what happened in Germany, Netherlands, Belgium, we have never exterminated these animals here, despite the fact that we have been hunting them. So our wolf population has got accustomed to losing certain number of animals every year. So what we see today, the numbers are increasing, they are feeling good. They have never felt so good in Latvia ever. The wolf actually came here near my gate.
Yeah.
With the footprints. I think I have pictures of that too. Management is not about killing, it's about managing population in a way that we can have everything in our forests. Wolves, bears, lynx, red deer, roe deer, hares, and at the same time a farmer can have his sheep or leave horses outside and so on. So you have to look at that as a combined system. It's not just interests of one species.
Linda Dombrovska has an appointment at the State Forestry Authority, located in Ogre, southeast of the capital, Riga. Valtas Lucis is tasked with setting and monitoring the annual wolf hunting quotas. An employee from the hunting magazine documents the encounter. After this, Lucis has time for the television crew from Germany.
No animal is good or bad. Every creature has its place in nature. We must find a middle way. We Latvians have an appropriate saying: let the wolf eat and the goat live.
We cannot eliminate all the conflicts, of course, but we can make them as minimum as possible. Then the coexistence is possible. Because of hunting, compared to other Western countries, damages to livestock are not so big overall. They are big from our perspective, but they are not that big from the perspective of Germany, Switzerland, France, or other countries where hunting is not happening as it is happening here. We have to have a balance between different interests. We cannot put wolf above everybody else.
In Germany, they can. Since the return of the first wolf pack in the country, animal owners have been calling for the culling of these predators, at least of those who target sheep, livestock, or horses. Over the past 24 years, this has occurred 19 times in the entire country. During the same time frame, nearly 6,000 farm animals have been killed or injured by wolves.
Nature conservation policy in Germany tends to take a conservative wait-and-see approach. But we really need to be more proactive about protecting nature. It's important to support the folks who are dealing with the challenges posed by wolves, because there's only so much they can handle.
Denn irgendwann ist die Leidensfähigkeit der Menschen auch erreicht.
Das sind Landwirte.
These folks are farmers, horse owners, and landowners. They expect us hunters to step up. Sometimes they even say it outright. Why don't you just shoot the wolves?
Nun knallt doch endlich mal diese Wölfe ab.
When they feel ignored and let down by politicians and the government, they often end up taking matters into their own hands.
Das Recht in die eigene Hand zu nehmen.
We really want to steer clear of reaching that point because it's a lose-lose situation for everyone involved, including both the people and the wolf.
The wolf is never going to be wiped out in Germany again, and that's just the way it is. But we really need to find a good balance and manage the population properly.
So why isn't that happening?
It's partly because of what some people call political clientelism. Some parties find it tough to explain these decisions to their supporters. As long as the Greens are in charge of the Federal Environment Ministry, we probably won't see any change regarding wolf management.
But one can at least try. In October 2024, the German Hunting Association initiated a protest campaign against Environment Minister Steffi Lemke, a Green. This action stems from her commitment made a year earlier to establish a wolf culling regulation. However, the implementation of this promise has not progressed at all. A few weeks later, just after the government had collapsed and a new election had been announced, Steffi Lemke grants us an interview. The Council of Europe has just downgraded the protection status for wild wolves.
It seems that things are progressing in the EU. Do you agree?
The Berne Convention has recently been amended, which means the protection status of the wolf has been changed from strictly protected to protected. Given the current state of the wolf population, I believe this decision is responsible. Now, the EU Commission needs to turn it into a formal proposal. This won't happen immediately. We need practical solutions because for far too long, there has been endless discussion without any effective support for livestock farmers. That is why I launched a fast-track culling regulation a year ago. I want to resolve this ongoing debate and the divide that has developed. Protecting species is important for nature conservation, but livestock grazing holds irreplaceable value in maintaining biodiversity. To preserve biodiversity in our country, we need to support livestock grazing.
How many wolves have already been killed under this regulation?
As far as I know, there have been at least 2 applications for culling in one federal state. Those applications have been rejected by the courts. We need to secure legal shooting permits now. I urge everyone involved in local nature conservation, as well as the hunting community, to focus on shooting wolves that kill sheep. It is important to address and eliminate the obstacles that hinder this effort.
So, the answer to how many wolves have been killed under this regulation is 0.
These regulations have not yet been implemented in the federal states. Saxony-Anhalt is working on it now. This could have been done sooner, but it cannot be done by the Federal Ministry for the Environment. It must be implemented at the state level.
Livestock farmers want to see action. When will it actually be implemented?
I can understand that. I want us to be able to shoot wolves that kill the sheep and threaten the existence of livestock farmers. But I don't have a hunting license. I can't go out with a rifle and do it myself. It has to be done by those responsible. The authorities must obtain the appropriate permits and do it in such a way that it will stand up in court.
Klaus Mack is a member of the Bundestag and the CDU's Wolf Commissioner. In the wild, he would be the Environment Minister's natural foe. Mack estimates that each wolf costs taxpayers around 160,000 euros in its lifetime for damage compensation and livestock protection measures.
When politicians neglect the issues that truly matter to people, they become somewhat disconnected from society. This can lead to a rise in political extremism. It is essential to engage in discussions that involve the entire community. This is also true for issues like the wolf population. The wolf population is on the rise. It doubles approximately every 3 years. It is important to address the issue promptly and find the effective solutions.
We're now asking a fundamental question. Is politics capable of learning? Over the past 20 to 30 years, it seems that they've learned in some instances, but not yet in others.
The real issue is not the wolves, but the people involved.
Ja, natürlich, klar, ganz klar.
Yes, the larger problem lies with humans. Wolves are predictable and reliable. They are now an established species in our natural environment. The conflicts we face often involve individual people who are badly affected, while others fail to acknowledge their concerns. It's important to recognize that wolves have a natural right to feed themselves and their packs. But certain developments must be addressed and stopped. I'm concerned about the situation, and I think many others in our country share the same worries. The wolf is just one example of what is currently going wrong.
Some conservationist organizations like NABU have reimagined the wolf into a cuddly stuffed animal.
Einen Wolf gesehen. Leider gab's in unserem Land lange keine mehr. Doch vor ein paar Jahren kamen wieder welche her. Seid willkommen, ihr seid noch nicht viele, aber bald. Wundervolle Wesen wanderten von Ost nach West. Und es werden mehr, wenn du sie lässt.
The wolf has become a cash cow. Nearly 400,000 euros were donated by NABU wolf sponsors in 2023.
Hello, my name's Wolf. Are you interested in buying some insurance?
In Germany, it's more likely to meet an insurance agent in the forest than a wolf. And those fellows are much more aggressive.
But I have a good offer for you.
Welcome, wolf.
Much of the politics surrounding wildlife management is driven by ideology. We live in a complex cultural landscape, and it is essential to manage wild animals so that they can coexist peacefully with humans. The notion of allowing wolves to live freely does not work. This is a reality we confront every day in rural areas. What politicians in Berlin think differs significantly from that of someone living in the countryside.
Ideologies often hinder clear thinking. We see this in society, where the need to believe in something can lead people to abandon reason. This phenomenon is also seen in the field of nature conservation.
Und das passiert tatsächlich natürlich auch im Naturschutz.
Ist das Naivität oder Ideologie? Nein, in meinen
Is it naivete or ideology?
Macht.
No, in my view, it's a power grab.
Eigene Klientel nicht mit unliebsamen.
By avoiding uncomfortable truths with your clientele, you show a lack of spine by not asking them to rethink their perspectives.
Dass man hier umdenken muss.
Wolf fans were not always associated with the color green. They used to be brown. Wolves were Adolf Hitler's favorite animals. He even named his Führer headquarters after them, the Wolf's Lair. Currently, the wolf is associated with left-wing politics. Its opponents are labeled as right-wing. The political center remains hidden in the forest.
Humans and wolves have had a complicated relationship ever since they shared a common ancestor over 100,000 years ago. You can really see this today with domestic dogs, which we often call man's best friend compared to wolves, which many still view as scary or dangerous. On the one side, you have the friendly and loyal dogs, while on the other, wolves get a pretty bad rap. A lot of farmers are increasingly fearful of wolves too, which just adds to the negative feelings about them.
The division of the country into wolf opponents and wolf cuddlers has reached Saxony, home to Germany's first pack. Ilke Reinhardt from the Lupus Institute is conducting a monitoring tour this morning.
There are very fresh wolf tracks.
The biologist has already found what she was looking for.
There, that's the bigger one, and this is the smaller one.
Are they fresh tracks?
Yes, they're from this morning. There are 2 of them. It's probably the parents of the pack. They're having puppies for the first time this year, but they don't have any yearlings yet. The parents walked along here this morning.
How long ago?
Hard to say, a few hours.
Ilke Reinhardt continues on foot. This extensive area was previously used by the East German National People's Army. Since reunification, it's been reclaimed by mushroom hunters, quad bikers, and wolves. Once again, Ilke Reinhardt has spotted something.
Why are we stopping?
There are fresh droppings on the path. Wolves use the forest trails, and when they need to, they just do it. This scat is so fresh that you can still collect a genetic sample from it.
For wolf researchers, this is a lucky find.
It'll be sent in with photos and our location.
The wolf's legacy is documented in compliance with regulations.
What happens now?
I'm now taking a genetic sample. This sample is preserved in 97% alcohol until it is sent to the laboratory. Since the sample is very fresh, you can still see some mucus on it. These are essentially cells from the intestinal mucosa of the wolf. And there are numerous body cells present, which will allow the geneticists to analyze it further.
Can you identify the wolf from this sample?
Yes, the geneticists can actually identify the wolf and determine which individual left his droppings. As you can see, there is hair present, and it looks quite similar to that of a wild boar.
Did the wolf eat a wild boar?
Yes, it looks like it. There is a significant amount of black hair in the sample.
Just a few hundred meters on, there's a sand dune in the forest that, according to the researchers' observations, is often used as a puppy playground. But there are no puppies here this morning, just plenty of paw prints.
This beautiful sandy area has stunning tracks. As you can see, there are numerous tracks from several animals. Wolf tracks are among them. In addition to human and quad tracks, you'll also find fresh tracks made by red deer and ravens. It is like exploring a hidden object book. It's truly exciting to discover what has been happening here throughout the night.
How many wolves are there in this area?
There is a pack living in the Neustadt-Spremberg area. 2 parents who are raising puppies for the first time this year. Last year they faced difficulties and lost their puppies. But this summer they had 8 puppies. We don't know if there are any more puppies, but it's a small family with the 2 parents and their 8 pups.
The next monitoring station is one of the photo traps installed by the Lupus Institute in the forest. These traps are checked regularly and are secured against manipulation or theft with locks.
How did the traps work?
They use a motion trigger. They activate as soon as something moves in front of the camera. Unfortunately, this can include branches or twigs swaying. After activation, we review the recordings. Any footage involving people or cars is deleted immediately.
And is there anything on it?
There are lots of wolves captured on the cameras. I'll need to check the footage on the big screen. Ah, there's the female wolf. She's quite slim. The male is much stronger, and they have puppies. I see 1 puppy, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're running alongside their parents.
Can you see the whole pack?
Yes, pretty much. We know that last summer they had 8 puppies. Currently, there are 5 puppies with their parents in the footage, but we can't confirm if there are any more.
When were these recordings made?
The day before yesterday, at 5:30 in the morning.
The puppies will eventually set off on their own. They'll hunt for themselves, reproduce, and in order to raise their own offspring, hunt even more prey. Will it be deer or cattle? Who knows?
There are issues related to wolves and livestock farming, but these problems can be addressed by bringing the discussion back to the center rather than keeping it on the fringes. It's unfortunate because this approach does not do justice to the issue.
How can we specifically resolve these problems?
From our experience in Germany, as well as in many other European countries, we know that herd protection measures may not eliminate damage completely, but they can significantly reduce it. It's important to avoid a one-size-fits-all solution. Instead, we should assess each livestock owner individually to determine what makes sense for them, what works and what doesn't.
Wolf advisor Hermann Koch is uncertain about what works, but he's very clear about what does not work: the use of supposedly wolf-proof fences to protect the herds. When evaluating these fences, Koch has all too frequently observed how easily they can be compromised.
These sheep aren't really safe, are they?
That's my concern too. The fence meets the regulations, but I fear a wolf could easily jump over it.
How high is it?
It's 1.25 meters. We walk here quite often, and my first thought is always, are all the sheep still safe? It's only a matter of time. 3, 6, 9. Yeah.
You think they'll be around much longer?
I doubt they'll make it through the winter.
Authorities and nature conservation associations promote electric fences for sheep pastures at a height of 1.2 meters as wolf-proof. But thousands of dead farm animals and hundreds of video clips on the internet prove the opposite. In the mountains surrounding Avers in the Swiss canton of Graubünden, it seems as though Heidi could dance across one of the alpine meadows at any moment. However, the farmers here are not interested in alpine kitsch. One of them, George Stoffel, is organizing a resistance to protect his animals and his way of life.
This is my home. My family has farmed this land for generations. Now it is threatened by wolves.
Stoffel's family relies on 150 cattle, 40 goats, and 30 dairy sheep grazing on the mountain pastures from spring to fall. He does not know how much longer this will last.
We are unable to protect ourselves from the increasing number of wolves. In our area, their population has doubled in the last 2 years. We can install nets that are 1 meter, 1 meter 10, or even 1 meter 20 high. But wolves still attack. If we can no longer graze our livestock in the alpine pastures, we will have to close down.
Hunting wolves who prefer sheep to alpine chamois is now allowed in Switzerland. But the wolves reproduce much faster than they can be hunted in the challenging terrain of the Alps. George Stoffel illustrates how his ancestors addressed the issue, with deep traps. However, the conservationists who advocate for the wolves pose a greater danger to him than to the predators themselves.
The wolf is being used as a weapon against us, against livestock grazing and against agriculture.
Why?
They want to create wilderness. The World Conservation Union and the WWF want to ensure that wolf populations can thrive and connect across Europe. They are the new colonialists. Historically, colonialists have always waged war against the people of these regions. If I were an ideologue, I might argue that I am inspired by restoring nature to its wild state. So I would feel justified in waging this war. I would think I am fighting for a noble cause.
And you? And your people?
We will fight back, no doubt.
The mastermind of the ideologues of whom George Stoffel speaks spends the summer months at his country house in Tuscany, Italy, 600 kilometers away from those angry Swiss alpine farmers.
How many wolves do you have in this area?
I have a pack which dance about 500 meters over there. I can hear them howling. This last night was 200 meters. It's all forest. Easy for them to hide. I never see them, but I hear them very often.
And you're not scared?
No. I'm scared for the dog. In fact, I keep them on a leash all the time. Yeah.
Professor Luigi Boitani is recognized worldwide as the leading expert on wolves. His many followers refer to him as the Wolf Pope, while his opponents say, to hell with him. Boitani co-founded the Large Carnivore Initiative for Europe in 1995 and developed an action plan for wolf conservation on the continent.
In Europe, we estimate about 20 to 23,000 wolves. Okay, 20,000 wolves in Europe and 500 million people. Who is too many? Wolves and human can coexist. Of course, it takes a little bit of work, extra work, for the shepherd to defend himself. And that extra work must be compensated. The European Commission has put on the table a lot of funding to support farmers in adapting to this way of managing livestock. So it's there. Its money is available. It's only a matter of willing to share land, to coexist. But if we are looking for a life without coexistence, well, then the dialogue ends and the political battle starts.
This battle for the wolf has been ongoing across Europe.
In my opinion, the so-called extreme conservation fronts are guilty of preaching something that doesn't make sense, you know. The wolves are self-limiting. Don't touch the wolf. Any wolf is sacred, should not be touched. This is ridiculous, because there are certain situations that where the state must come in. We need a management plan. Do we want wolves downtown Roma in St. Peter or downtown Berlin? Do we want wolves there? No. Okay, everybody agrees no? Fine. Where is the limit? Let's put us around the table and discuss where do we want wolves and where we don't want wolves. But if we leave everything unmanaged, where wolves are free to go where they want, every wolf is sacred, the other ones, every wolf should be killed, it's a mess, and we will never come out of that.
It's surprising that both the wolf pope from Rome and the wolf hunter from Riga agree on this point. Linda Dombrovska drives around her hunting ground on the lookout for wolves in order to hunt the hunters herself tomorrow morning. But so far, nothing.
Where are the wolves?
No idea. In the forest.
Wolves are not afraid of cars. Linda tries to spot them with thermal imaging technology. And that works even when she doesn't spot any wolves.
Here.
Here, there's something white. This is a deer. I can't zoom in, but you can see everything. That's a high seat. And this small white object is a deer.
Sie bleiben im Wald, weil es ist
They stay in the forest because it's harder for wolves to hunt them there.
zu jagen in Wald.
So if there are no deer in sight, could it be because there are wolves around?
Could be, yes. It's difficult to say today because the weather is so bad.
If she does spot any wolves, she'll remember their location and return at dawn.
In Latvia, we cannot shoot wolves at night using thermal imaging.
Ja, mit Thermal.
That's why we have to walk around at night to look for signs.
Gucken, sehen. How do you call
What do you call them?
Tracks.
Spuren, ja. Nach Spuren suchen.
It's much easier to track wolves in the snow.
Am Morgen kann
In the morning, you can see if anything happened during the night.
was am Nacht passiert ist. Und wenn wir etwas zum Beispiel
If we spot a wolf, then hunters can take action.
Jäger kann etwas machen.
For example, the next day, we could organize a driven hunt
Oder Sitz
or
auf
sit on a high seat to hunt.
und jagen. Ich glaube,
I believe that hunting must be regulated so that animals will respect humans.
dann Tiere ein
When there are many wolves and no hunting takes place, it creates numerous
sehr viele
problems.
Wölfe und kein Jagd, dann haben sie viele Probleme jetzt.
There is a great, how do you say,
Damage.
Schieden, ja.
damage, yes.
Und ich
I
denke,
think there is damage in Latvia.
haben Schieden,
It's there,
aber
but not so much
so
because we
viel,
have been hunting
weil
wolves for many
die jagen
years.
Wölfen seit sehr viele Jahren.
I'm not sure how many.
Ich weiß es nicht, wie viele.
But
Im,
during the Soviet
sowjetische
era,
Union
they offered money for each wolf shot because it was
geben
considered a plague,
für
a problematic animal.
geschossene Wolf. Weil es war ein Pest, ein schlechtes Tier.
Today, opinions have
Die
changed.
Meinung
We need wolves in the
hat
forest,
gewechselt.
which is why we have a hunting
brauchen
season
Wölfe
and a set
im
limit.
Wald. Deshalb
Certain methods are prohibited, but hunting must continue.
Wir haben verschiedene Methoden, das sind verboten, aber muss Jagd sein.
The ban on night vision technology in hunting applies to all species of animals. It aims to give wild animals, including wolves, a fair chance. But skilled hunters like Linda Dombrovska make it hard for them to use that chance.
This summer, I shot and hunted a big wolf.
Geschossen, gejagt.
That was luck.
Das war nur Glück.
This summer?
Yes.
Sommer, ja.
Our season starts on July 15th.
Am 15. Juli anfängt.
Stay here.
Wir sehen
We see deer, a doe with two fawns and a buck. The buck stops and the mother deer and fawns are a bit scared. We also have to take a look here.
Ich muss hier auch
Nothing at
ein
all.
bisschen sehen, gucken. Gar nichts.
Nothing at all.
No moose either?
Auch
No.
keine Elche. Nein, wir haben
We've problems with moose.
Elche.
Why?
Es gibt
We have more
Wölfe
wolves,
und sie
and they
essen
eat the
die
young
junge
moose.
Elche. So,
Their population is decreasing.
Population get weniger und weniger.
There are other factors too, but wolves are an important one.
Aber Wölfe sind eine von wirklich wichtigen Faktoren.
They don't just eat the sick animals, they eat everything they can hunt. Hunters realize that. There are fewer beavers than before, because wolves can hunt beavers easily. They are like schnitzel for wolves.
Schnitzel for wolf.
All animals and birds are important, all of them. But we have these legendary animals like wolves or bears or lynx.
Die Wolf oder Bär oder Lynx.
Lynx?
Yes. People believe that these animals are more important than others.
Diese Tiere sind wichtiger.
Why?
Ich weiß es nicht warum.
Many scientists don't understand the situation either. Renowned conservationists from Germany, Austria, and Switzerland have published the Mayenfeld Declaration, in which they express concern that the spread of wolves may have devastating consequences for other animal and plant species. Swiss biologist Marcel Züger tells us the Alps in particular are adversely affected.
This is a fen of national importance. Traditionally, these areas were regularly mowed, which shaped the landscape. The cotton grass and the numerous orchids depend on this. If wolves return to the area, we may see a decline in livestock farming. This would result in fewer farmers and a lack of workers available for hard labor. As a result, biodiversity is decreasing. The most affected are the rare and endangered species. They are disappearing at an alarming rate.
Züger initially celebrated the return of the wolves. Now he's calling for them to be extensively hunted.
If there are more wolves, the entire landscape will look like this. You can observe that small fir trees started to grow here 20 to 30 years ago. The area is increasingly becoming a dense forest. The ground is being shaded and low shrubs are also emerging nearby. You can see the vibrant colors of the flowers. But the diversity that should be present here has vanished. It has disappeared because of the thick undergrowth, and it will not return on its own.
Nesting sites vanish, and then the birds disappear. Why must the black grouse die for the wolf to thrive?
The wolf has been granted a special status. It has not appeared on the red list of endangered species for the past 15 years. But there are numerous plants, animals, insects, and birds that are genuinely endangered and would be at risk of extinction without our support.
There are still sheep in the Swiss Alps, thanks to the persistence of shepherds, the availability of subsidies, and the presence of herd protection dogs. Among them are the Marimanos, an Italian breed from Abruzzo, which accompany a flock of over 900 sheep. Since these dogs have been deployed, no animals have been killed. But that comes with a price. A fully trained protection dog can cost up to 10,000 euros. The shepherd on this alpine pasture comes from Germany. His helper is only there during the summer vacation. Hardly any Swiss want to do the tough job at 2,200 meters, especially since it has become so dangerous. Julius Greif works in these mountains every year. This season, he's working for alpine master Meinrad Kolb.
The wolf is nearby, but the dogs patrol the territory. They prevent the wolves from coming to us.
Are you afraid of wolves?
I have respect for them, but not fear. I worry for my herding dogs, for instance. They're not as big as the guard dogs and could be more vulnerable to an attack.
Have you ever experienced attacks?
Yep, on another Alp. It was serious. I set out with the sheep in the morning and came over a mountain, only to realize I'd left behind 6 sheep. Suddenly, the guard dogs ran off. I attempted to move the flock down the mountain, but they pushed back against me. At that moment, I sensed that something was wrong. I grabbed my binoculars and saw the wolves running away. We ended up finding a few dead sheep. What remained were just a head and a leg.
What do you think about the return of wolves?
Our great-grandfathers killed wolves and bears for a reason. Those were different times. I can coexist with wolves as long as they leave my sheep alone. But there is one concern. We already have too many wolves in the canton of Graubünden. If we don't manage their population, we may face big issues. This isn't just about the sheep and wild animals. It could also affect tourism. Wolves are increasingly encountering people. Wolves have no natural enemies and seem to lack respect for humans.
A trend that can also be observed in Germany. Countless videos like these are circulating online. Wolves roaming through villages and towns.
Lena, stay here. Oh man, that's a wolf.
How cool!
That's not cool.
Are you recording this?
Yeah.
Oh, poor thing. Someone has to help him.
No, honey, stay here now.
Encounters that have gone without fatal consequences. So far.
We have to expect an attack on humans in Germany in the foreseeable future. The more wolves that we have in Germany, the more realistic the scenario becomes.
The attack on a child in the Netherlands shows how realistic this is. It happened 70 kilometers from the German border. In mid-July, the 5-year-old girl and her kindergarten group were on a class outing near Amersfoort when she was bitten by a wolf. The wolf let go of the girl because a caregiver screamed and intervened. The same animal had repeatedly approached walkers and cyclists. It was caught on video. The girl's father published photos of the wounds because wolf conservationists dismissed the attack as fake news. By the time this film was completed, no decision had been reached on whether to kill the wolf.
What's happening regarding recent attacks on children and people in Germany?
That's
a big concern. The risk is high and eventually something could happen. We just don't know when it will take place. It could be tomorrow, in 2 weeks, or even 10 or 20 years from now.
And when it does happen?
If it happens, we'll have a serious problem. Ultimately, the wolf is at risk, but so are the people who are affected.
Protect or shoot? Politicians will have to decide. Perhaps an old Bulgarian proverb will help. If you make yourself a lamb, the wolf will eat you.